Hello and welcome to All Stats Aren't We, a podcast in which Leeds fans cast their combined eye over goings on at Ellen Road, giving scrutiny to the underlying statistics and tactical footings at work at Leeds United. I'm Adam Elliott and I'm joined today by Martin Riley. It couldn't be anyone else. Martin, how are you?
I cannot complain. I've had a nice day, work, usual. Now I'm getting to chat to you, so it's even better now.
You know, they said you lot and there's only me, so that is exciting. That is fun, always. Not that I don't speak to you enough, but I'm never going to complain at speaking to you even more. Have you had your tea yet, or are you about to have it after this recording? So we're recording a little earlier than usual. You might be able to see that it's not quite fully pitch black out my corner of my bedroom window there.
Yeah, so I've not had my tea yet, but I'm going to be having a beef stir fry afterwards. So that will be good. How about you? What have you got prepared?
It's way better than anything I've done. Then again, it was my birthday on Monday, and I've had cake all week so far, and I've had leftovers of Chinese on Monday and Tuesday, so that's pretty good. So can't complain at that. But today I'm only having fish and chips because I can't be bothered. Not shop bought, as in chip shop bought ones, just normal freezer stuff. So pretty boring, but it'll be all right, I'm sure. I've already referred to the fact that we are on YouTube by telling you that you can look over my shoulder and see that it's not dark outside because there is video to substantiate that claim. But just a reminder to anyone that hasn't checked us out on YouTube, you can. All Stats Aren't We on YouTube. It's really easy to find us. Please subscribe. Please like. Please comment. All of that nice stuff. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers because that would mean us being able to do some other things if we get to that mark. And where can they find us on Patreon, where we're going to have some stuff? I'm going to get at Hosty because he needs to get on something. I think he's forgotten. So I'll mention that to him after this recording. But where can they find all that, Martin?
Patreon.com/ASAW Patreon.
Right, we're here today, obviously, to discuss Crystal Palace, Premier League team in a Premier League game. But obviously, Leeds United are through to the next round of the FA Cup, and we haven't actually been able to celebrate that. And the last time they got to this round, I was 5 years old.
Yep.
It was a long old time ago.
I was 17.
Yeah, you didn't have any children.
Those were glorious times.
But anyway, we're in the quarterfinals. First of all, talk to me about Norwich and that game. I assume that you watched it. What did you think of it?
Yeah, so we got over the line. A bit of a shaky opening 15 minutes until the team had sort of settled amongst each other, but then there was like a flurry of good attacking moments, and we took advantage of those and scored goals from those. And yeah, Norwich couldn't really lay a glove on us throughout the game, so it was good to get a clean sheet, good to get some minutes in the legs of these players who haven't had a lot of minutes at all. Disappointing to not see more of Facundo Buonanotte, and that is probably my only gripe with the affair, and some of the substitution choices in the second half. But we all know what we think of Daniel Farke's substitution choices, so I'll see that there.
Every single one of our senior fullbacks saw minutes, even including Sam Byram, like every single one of them. It was just really odd. But otherwise, yeah, I agree. Like, we weren't amazing for a 3-0 win. I think that flattered us a little bit, but we got the job done. We were still the better side. We still deserved to go through, but maybe flattered us slightly with the scoreline. And that's fine. But now we've set up a away game against West Ham in the quarterfinals with a place at Wembley on the line in the semi-finals. I will caveat that by saying it's very likely that we'll be playing Chelsea, Arsenal, or one of Man City or Liverpool if we do manage to beat West Ham. So the chances of winning it are not particularly high, but Palace won last year and that's our next opponent, so maybe that's an omen. And I hope that we get through against West Ham. I'd like us to, and still manage to, continue our form in the Premier League, where I know that people are a little worried after we've lost the last two, but it's still only 2 defeats in 16 league games. 4 defeats in 16 league games, including those 2. So it's not the end of the world at all. So I'd like to get through against West Ham. And it's also a dress rehearsal for the last game of the season, so it makes some sense to want to maybe have some kind of a psychological edge over beating them. I would quite like that as well, even if it's a penalty win. I think that would be quite big for us. So that's where I am at. Are you happy with the West Ham draw?
Well, in terms of the opponent, It's fine. It's fine. It's not exciting, of course, but it would have been better if it was a home fixture, of course.
Putting it mildly.
Yeah, London. We don't like London. But yeah, it's fine. I'm still not really excited about the cup. But that's just me.
Quarter final next,
and I'm happy you're excited, Adam.
I think I wasn't until this last round with Norwich, and then knowing if we won that, yeah, you've got a chance at a quarter final if you can get. You will be in the quarter final if you get through that, and you've got a chance at a semi final if you can get a decent draw. I agree with the away thing. It's annoying. It's not just because it's London and Leeds rubbish in London. It's not even just that, is it? It's more the players have to travel all the way down to one of the further trips they've got to do again. And they've got to do it again at some point later in the season when we go to Spurs, and again when we go to West Ham later in the season. We're going this weekend to London with Palace. We've got Bournemouth at the end of the season as well sometime. So 5 of our remaining away days are all really, really far away. I can't remember who the other was. It Man United, which is not that bad. So yeah, it's just a lot of trouble. And so what I wanted to say is, can some of the northern teams or even the Midlands teams, could you get promoted, please, from the Championship? Because that would be helpful. Anyway, let's get into this for talking about another London day, another day away in London against Crystal Palace. And they are still managed by Oliver Glasner, the Austrian manager, but they probably won't be at the end of the season. In fact, I think it's almost definite. He said that he's leaving. I can't see why that would change. It's a really strange situation to me, Martin, where a manager says that so far ahead of time. And like, you're either clinging on hoping that he'll change his mind, or you're happy because he's good enough or whatever. But I don't fully get it. I feel like you'd want to give someone else the reins. Palace were never really going to get relegated this season, even when it got a bit nervy recently where they were quite close to us on points. They pulled away again. They're going to be absolutely fine. So they didn't need to necessarily see the season out with him. They might as well have given someone else the job until May. For me, if they did well enough, they've got time to then assess the squad ahead of the summer. I think it would have made more sense to them to do that. But they've done it this way instead, and Glasner's done still a pretty good job. They are the FA Cup holders, of course, and that's the main thing. They've also been in the Premier League. I think many people know this now, but I think it's 12 or 13 seasons in a row, which is a long old time. So, yeah, I think it's odd. Do you think it's a bit weird?
Yeah, it is a bit strange. But I guess maybe at least the reason why he came out and publicly said it was just to really put it beyond doubt that he wasn't going to extend the contract. Maybe he didn't want his words to be diced with, and what he's saying to the board in private, and just decided to say it out loud. But I can kind of understand it in a sense, because I think it's been ongoing for most of the half of the season. Maybe they felt like they could try to convince him, and they didn't want to lose him if there was any chance of it. But then after he publicly said it, maybe that would have been the time to stick and twist. But it's what the sort of managers who were available, because there's been a lot of managerial movement this season, to say the least. So it's the options are a bit narrow.
Yeah, maybe it's sit and wait and what it looks like in June. A few other managers that are out of contracts, Marco Silva, Andoni Iraola. I'm not saying they would go to Palace, but they're also out of contract, so quite a few clubs have got decisions to make this summer, so maybe that landscape will be something they're going to address in the summer. But yeah, in terms of transfer activity, then we'll go into that, because we're not going to do what they did in the summer, Martin, but we'll do what they did recently, because they were quite busy in January. And not only that, but like, I feel like people have forgotten there was a whole saga around John-Philippe Mateta as well. He ended up staying, so that's good maybe for them, but he is a striker getting on a bit now. He's 29 at the end of the season. They could have got quite a big fee from AC Milan for a guy who's 29 with knee problems. They decided not to do the deal, AC Milan. But that didn't stop them from getting busy with the Mark Gahey money. He left to Man City. He only had 6 months left on his contract. They actually got 20 million for a guy with 6 months left on his contract. And I know he's doing really well for City. It might be one of those rare occasions where it's actually suited every single party involved. They're getting a fee for someone who's nearly out of contract. Man City are getting a good player for 20 million. Like, everything just made sense. Gahey's been good for them since he came in. We saw it at Ellen Road. But they did spend some of that money, didn't they? They bought a few players in.
They did indeed. So they brought in Brendan Johnson for 35 million-ish from Spurs. They loaned in Evan Gesson from Villa, and they bought the guy who we were wanting to buy in Strand Larsen, which, for 45 million, which was more than what I think we would have been happy to pay. At least I would have been a bit. That's a bit of a high fee for someone in our position.
I guess it's a compliment to us a little bit that we managed to push the price up for them to pay for him.
Yeah, it is. If you want to look at the glass half full sort of sense, but yeah, he's a great player, and he's proven it quite quickly in a competent attack that he can actually score goals. And all the people who were saying, "Oh, but he's only scored one goal this season," or whatever it was for Wolves, just looks a bit like nonsense now, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's already got 4 goal involvements for them, I think, in 8 games, Palace.
Yeah.
1 assist, 3 goals, so he's doing more than fine, isn't he? Yeah, and so as you say, basically in attack, they look stronger, despite, I think, 35 million for Brennan Johnson is crazy. I think he's now gone for roughly in transfer fees around 80 million he's cost now, which is bonkers. I'm not saying he's a poor player, but he is not a £35 million player. Sean Larson probably slightly overpay there as well, and then there's an obligation to buy Gesson if he reaches a certain number of either games or goals or both, and I think he's already pretty close to that mark. So definitely better in attack, but weaker in defence. What I will say about defence quickly is there's been a couple of guys who've been sharing the minutes recently. A guy called Riyad, who they got from Barcelona, who they got over a year ago, but he didn't play very often last season after a really good loan with Betis the year before, and he's now settled in and looks like he's playing and being trusted more by Glasgow and done pretty well. And then maybe the one that's really exciting is the guy they signed from, I think, Toulouse in Canvo, who they got in September of 2025, right on deadline day. And he didn't play much at the first, but he's been playing a lot recently and looked really, really good. I think it was Toulouse. I might have the wrong team, but I think it was. And yeah, so they've managed to kind of replace Gahey from within, and those two have done pretty well by all accounts. Anyway, let's talk about how the team looks then overall in possession with what he's got now, Glasner, from the rest of the season. Obviously, they are still in Europe. I will mention that. But, you know, he's been there for quite some time. He's obviously got pedigree in Europe, Glasner as well. He won Frankfurt, the Europa League, a few years back against Rangers, which is a Glenn Kamara Rangers team as well, if people have forgotten. But yeah, how's he actually set up with Palace in possession? I feel like it's very similar to what he was doing with Frankfurt anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities between what we do and what Palace do, in all honesty. 3-4-3 shape. And he's pretty much played that all season at every game. Potentially in the cup, he might have played something different, but in the league, he's played 3-4-3 for every single game, so he's pretty wedded to it. They like to move the ball forward very quickly. In fact, the stats say that they've got the fastest direct speed in the league. But now that they've got a number of targets who they can go long to as well, whether it's Mateta or if it's Strand Larsen, they've got that focal point, so similar to what we've got in Calvert-Lewin. The front three, you kind of get they're not really wingers, kind of sort of like more like attacking midfielders. So again, another similarity to what we tickle my throat. Sorry. Again, no similarity in what we look to do as well. And the main width is coming from the wing backs who push quite high up in possession. And yeah, they're a very effective attacking side in terms of the XG, but they're not very clinical. But we'll go into some more deeper stuff in that a bit later on. But yeah, and I'd looked before I'd even looked at the stats. What I've wrote here is what I knew from memory, and it matched up exactly with the stats because they're a pretty easy team to understand how they're going to look to attack you, but sometimes stopping them can be more difficult than it seems because they're good at absorbing pressure and attacking quickly in counter-attack.
Yep, they're actually one of the top 10 teams in the league all season for, we'll probably go into this later, but expected goal difference and things like that. They've been pretty good in that sense. So maybe a little bit unfortunate to have been kind of hovering around 13th for most of the season, although most people associate Palace with that kind of particular part of the league. What I will say about the system as well is I don't actually love all the profiles in all the areas. Like Tyreek Mitchell has played as a centre-back at times, mostly as a left-back or left wing-back because that's where they want him, but he's more of a defensive profile than he is attacking, whereas Munoz on the other side is definitely more of an attacker than he is a defender and likes to get goals, get assists, get forward, really good energy like down that flank. He's, peak age Colombian international wing-back that they got from Belgium. It's a really, really good bit of recruitment that he's done really, really well for them there. But like other bits, I don't think they've got loads of good like depth at centre back, even though I've named quite a few good ones, because they've had to play players like you said that they're quite wedded to it. They really are, because players like Decore have had to play there at times this season as a centre back rather than as a defensive midfielder. When he has been fit, he's played a couple of games there, for example. And like Kamada, Will Hughes, Adam Wharton, these are nice footballers, but I feel like Decore is anyone with like sheer physicality in there, and I think that's something they're missing. So despite the fact that they have done well, and despite the fact that they're in multiple cup competitions this season again, I think their depth still in some areas is holding them back from being consistently really, really good, and that's probably one of the issues they've had this season. Although I do like their forward line more after January. 3 forwards being brought in and not many leaving is significant, let's put it that way. So they let one go to Coventry on loan, for example. It's like they didn't even need him. So anyway, let's talk about the other stuff, the out of possession stuff, the against the ball stuff, as Farker will put it. How is that looking? Because this is a bit out of date, Martin, but I think it's only about 4 or 5 games out of date. It's season-wide data. And on this data set I've got from The Athletic, it says your season average in terms of whether you're in a high block, a mid block, a low block, or you look to defend quick and break in transition. And Palace are the most mid-block team in the Premier League as of 4 or 5 games ago. I don't think that will have changed much, do you?
No, I wouldn't have expected so. I'd wrote what I'd wrote again here before I'd looked at any data. And what does what I wrote there say, Adam?
It says mid-block press, it can be quite aggressive, and it's more so when they're at home, like this match.
Exactly. That is what they're good at, is the mid-block. They're probably one of the best sides in the league at it. Like I say, it can be a bit more aggressive at home, but it's still not fully into a high press, but they are quite aggressive with it, and they do put out a lot of tackles. Because of that, we'll get into that again a bit later in the stats section. But yeah, they're pretty settled on that way of defending, and once that settles into the low block after the team's got to the final third, they're quite effective at keeping the ball out of the box. Not the best in the league at it, but still very good at it. And they can be difficult to break down when they do sit back, when they get a lead. That can be quite deadly for their opponents.
Yeah, I really can't add anything to that. They are, like you say, pretty obvious with what they do. Probably one of the most easy to understand teams in the Premier League. Yeah. Do you see much? I guess the question I want to add on, and if you don't know, you don't know, but let me know. Are they more of a man-oriented press or more ball-oriented, or somewhere in the middle?
I'd say it's probably more ball-orientated than man. I haven't seen many get. They maybe had some games where they've decided to have a couple of men follow certain individual threats, but it's never like a full-on man-to-man press.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Yep, totally agree with that. Then let's talk about recent form for them. They've got their 15th points in 2026. That's since the turn of the year. But in the last 5 games, they've turned a corner and they are now 5th in the form table. A win over Spurs, a very late win over Wolves, but still a win over Wolves, and also Brighton losses. And they won against Brighton in the derby as well. That was a pretty decent performance. That I watched that one all the way through in prep for this. And then they also had the disappointing loss to Burnley, where they were XG'd big time. Like big time, and a narrow loss to Man United, but they were down to 10 men because Lacroix got sent off. So they've definitely been a bit better recently. Would you say that looks like the case in terms of the eye test as well?
So yeah, they have definitely improved in some respects, but the teams who they have beaten aren't exactly good. Obviously, you've got Spurs, who are in all sorts of free fall at the moment. Wolves, who obviously one of the few teams who are below us in this league. So yeah, they're also not in a good place. And Brighton have just had really bad form for a while, which has improved a little bit, but still not quite there. And then the team losing against Burnley is heretical. And I don't know any other side who would do that. Who would lose against Scott Parker's Burnley? No,
they were at home as well. We were away.
That didn't happen.
Does that worry?
It didn't happen. No.
Okay, so it didn't happen. Scott Parker's not unbeaten against Daniel Farke so far.
No juju. No, not at all.
But yeah, the other thing to say in the form is, and I haven't looked at the home and away tables in terms of their kind of sort of rolling season average, but I've got the whole season as it is. And Palace not doing particularly great in this respect. They've played one less game than us, sure, but they've won half the games we have. They won 3, we've won 6. We're 13th in the form table. They're 15th, but we've won 22 points. They've won 15. So there is a decent gap there. Even if they beat us, there's still a 4-point gap there. And there's kind of a bit of a cut-off, actually. Everton downwards in the table, where the bottom of this at 13th, Everton at 14th, where they've all been the worst home teams in the league by miles. And so if that gives anyone a crumb of comfort, I hope it does. It gives me a little bit. They've definitely been better away from home. I don't really have a full explanation for this because I do think some of it's been a bit of bad luck. Like the Burnley game, they were definitely the better team.
I think the transition style of their game will generally lend itself to better away performances.
It probably does. And I did see some of the Spurs game they had, and I saw all of the Brighton game they had, and they were good in those games. But I still think some of the XG numbers at home have been a bit unlucky not to have ended up becoming a win. Not that you should always look at single game XG and draw too many conclusions from it, but like, for example, that Burnley game, they were the better team by miles. They were very unlucky. So that is one thing. But at home, they haven't been as good this season. So, if that gives you some comfort, 6 draws in 14 games, that's one of the things they've been doing a lot. Not losing loads, but they draw quite often. Do we think that they'll do anything different to normal when they play us, Martin? In terms of their tactics in and out of possession?
I think they'll try something different on set pieces compared to the last game. They'll definitely be analysing the set piece that we had last time and trying to do the best to do something different there. But in terms of the overall game plan, I can't imagine why they would change anything major. No, I don't think so.
Agreed. So let's talk about lineup and standout players then, shall we? I think we'll do the lineup first, then we'll talk about who we think will impress there. One thing we should say here quickly is they are still in the Conference League, and they did not manage to finish in the top 8 and avoid the next they have an extra round if you miss out on the top 8. And they, because of that, had to play I can't remember who it was now. I can't remember the name of the team. It was some team in Bosnia. They managed to squeeze through that. And now they're playing Larnaca, who they've already played this season in the league phase, which they lost. And now they've got to play them over 2 legs instead. They lost at home to them, funnily enough. So they've got to play them on Thursday. That's why our game's been rearranged to Sunday. They've also got to play them again the Thursday after. And it seems to me that Palace's season's dead. They're out of the League Cup. They're out of the FA Cup. They have to take that very seriously, the Conference League. They've also got a decent path to the final because I've looked at it. Other than playing Fiorentina, they should be all right after that if they can get past that. So, with that said, there is a small chance that they take that game a little bit more seriously and they look to rest players, key players against us. There is also a chance that they look to just play the same team or a very strong team across all 3 games. And if they do, Martin, which I think we're probably expecting them to, you've got to hope that they just have a little less energy in the legs and they're a little bit more tired because they'll have had a game a couple of days before and we won't have had a game for exactly a week since the Norwich game. So that hopefully goes in our favour. But are you expecting them to be pretty strong here against Leeds?
Against us, yeah. I'd expect them to be quite strong. I'd imagine they'll rest some players for the midweek game against Larnaca, like the players who are closest to the line there, whoever their physios tell them is most likely to pick up an injury. In the red zone. Whoever's in the red zone will be dropped out. So maybe we can look into what their lineup is on Thursday. But obviously we're a day before that, so we don't know. But the best time I've got at this, I'll say Henderson in goal, back 3 of Canvert, Richards, and Lacroix, and Nathaniel Klein at right wing back, Wharton and it's either Kamada or Hughes. I'll go with Hughes. I think he might want a bit more energy and intensity over what Kamada offers. Mitchell at left wing back, then a front 3 of Ismail Assar, Strand Larson, and we'll go with Gesson as the other one, but it could be Johnson equally.
Yeah, I think I agree. They do have a few injury issues or question marks at the very least. Mateta's been out for a while, but it's apparently he's going to be involved in the Larnaca squad, according to a Crystal Palace journalist called Bobby Manzi that I found on Twitter earlier. And Lacroix, who was suspended recently against Spurs, he will not miss Larnaca or Leeds. It was only a 1-game suspension, so he'll be back. Jefferson Lerma's been out for most of the season. He should be fine to play a part this week, but I can't see him being given loads of minutes. The big one, really, the big one that they're missing, quite likely to miss anyway, definitely against Larnaca, probably against us, is the right wing back, which is Daniel Munoz. Now, we might get this wrong because Glasner has said that he is working towards being available for the Leeds game. I don't know. It seemed like a pretty serious injury recently. I don't know. Leeds might be a bit too soon for him. So hopefully it is, and they have to play a very old Nathaniel Klein. They were looking for weak points. Him and Cambo on the right-hand side for them, probably a bit weaker, I would say. In terms of, I guess, players that are real quality this season, I know people, like you said earlier, are a bit down on Strand Larsen, but he is scoring goals already in a team that has settled with a proper, functional attack. And Ismail Assar has been absolutely amazing and really, really good in the cups. He always is. Last season he was as well. Him and Eze this season as well in the competitions that have mattered for them. He's just come up with the goods, and I really like him. To be honest, he's really impressed me. So they're real big threats. Their attacking line does look quite threatening. What I would say, as a slight crumb of comfort for anyone else, is I don't know they've actually got loads of players that are going to be really capable of breaking a team down if we are compact and solid and sat in a kind of mid to low block at times. I think that would be difficult for Sarr and Gesson and players like that to actually, and Johnson if they use him, they like to play into space, and if we don't give them it, they can't do it. So I don't actually think this is a game for a high press in that sense. Are there any players for you, Martin, that stand out as a poor player or a strong player?
I couldn't really add too much else to what you said there, to be honest. You've mentioned the main ones that I would have said the standout players, and the weak ones, that right side of Klein and Canva. It's obviously Adam Wharton is a quality player. I think that really needs to be said. He's in the England setup for a reason. Great pass on him. Really good pass. Intense player. Offers quite a lot. Not quite as physically strong as what we've got in midfield, so we should be able to win that battle. But yeah, they've still got a lot of quality, especially in the attacking third. It's definitely been upgraded in January.
And just two more I'll quickly mention. Richards, who people might not know about, he won USNNT Player of the Year last year. Not our boy Brendan Aronson, which is a disgrace. Not Tyler Adams or Weston McKennie or Christian Pulisic. No, Chris Richards. Probably because they won the FA Cup. And then, the goalkeeper, I don't really particularly like him. I think he was a bit of a pillock, really, but Dean Henderson. I haven't looked recently, but goalkeeper data this season, he's up there. He's up there with the Pickford and the Martinez. He's been one of the better for post-shot XG numbers. So even though you're going to go into why their attack's been faltering, he's been pretty good at the back for them and probably has helped them not to fall away too much because, as you've got written down, I'll quickly steal it and then I'll let you do the rest. They've got the highest underperformance on XG in the entire Premier League. They've created 45 expected goals and only scored 33 goals, which is a 12-goal underperformance. Now, I will caveat that by saying they have had to play weird attacks this season because Jean-Philippe Mateta's had injuries and Jurgen Strand-Larsen has only just come in January, so they've only just got their two main strikers back into the team. But it is a huge underperformance, like you've got here, more than double Forest, who have a 5.5 underperformance. I think they're the second worst, aren't they? So really, really, really significant in that sense. But then other numbers, Martin, let's have a look at those because those are looking better, like I say, with Henderson.
Yeah, so the XG against, they've got a small overperformance in that, so they've conceded 35 goals from 38 XG, so about 3 goals stopped from being scored there, so it puts them fifth in the league for overperformance on that. The fourth highest for set piece XG, 13.17, but they've only scored 10 goals from that. Funnily enough, we've created less set piece XG, but scored more set piece goals. We've scored 3 more set piece goals than them. So we've created less XG.
If you take off the 4 we scored against them earlier in the season, we'd actually have scored less over the season. That's funny.
Funny, isn't it? And then they've got the worst XG against in the league from set pieces. So yeah, I know obviously we will have pumped their numbers up quite a lot, but even excluding ours, they've still got a lot of set piece XG against them. So they've obviously lost Guy who even though he was small, if you put in here small, he was still
For a
pretty
centre back,
good.
yeah. He's taller than me,
Defending
but
them.
he's small for a centre back. I think he's only like 1
Yeah.
centimetre taller than me, so he's not very tall.
And just touching, but again, what you mentioned earlier about the XG on performance, and John Felipe Mateta was actually one of the bigger offenders for that. He's actually underperformed XG the most in the league by nearly 4
That's
XG
quite funny.
underperformance. But yeah, he's one of those kind of like Bamford, who was in the Championship. We've got to give him a lot of chances, but streaky, yeah.
Also, I will defend him for a second, because I think one of the best things about a striker is getting into good positions. And normally, the tops of those big chances missed stats you see are the best strikers in the world, because they are constantly getting into positions to score. And he is obviously a good player still. So,
of course, yes, of course. And they've got the third most tackles in the league, 19 tackles per game, but the 15th lowest possession. So it's not just the low possession causing the high tackle numbers, as well as in that mid block. They are quite aggressive in there. So they are generating more than what your average mid block, no possession side would do. And the joint most clearances, so 33 per game. So they don't mess around with getting it out of the box, just get it out of there. They are tied with Sunderland for that one. And they've got the fastest direct speed in the league, like I mentioned earlier. 6th lowest for 10 plus pass sequences, so they don't often go with long passing sequences to try to get their attacks done quickly. But conversely, with all this talking about how they love direct speed and they don't do much in terms of long passing sequences, they haven't actually scored a direct attack goal from 36 direct attack sequences, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, especially when you've got, I think Ismail Sarr's great at those kind of moments, but they're not making the most out of him. And then Brennan Johnson's been brought in. He hasn't scored. He's got 1 assist in I think 14 or 13 games he's played so far. They've just not got it out of those two, and they look like they're perfect players for that kind of goal. But whatever.
No, it is very odd. And when I saw that, I thought, surely that can't be right. And I double checked it, and yeah, it was definitely correct. And they just, for some reason, really struggle to get those balls in the back of the net from those when you think that is their main strength. So yeah, there must be a specific breakdown as to what classifies as a direct attack and how many passes it contains, and maybe a lot of their attacks maybe are just over the amount of passes that a direct attack could be, and that they have scored other goals from attacks which look direct, but per Opta's definition, it's not quite there. So yeah, that was
so weird.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking about it more.
Yeah,
they've got. Go on, sorry.
No, sorry, go on.
They've got Strand Larson now, who you'd hope as a target man, a bit of a focal point, can knit things together a bit better for them, for their other, he can act as a foil for their other wide forwards, maybe. But then the other thing I was thinking is Adam Wharton is literally one of the most progressive passers in the Premier League. Every time he goes to pass forward, he directly passes it forward. He's not there's a lot of talk between him and Elliot Anderson, and I'm personally more of a fan of Anderson's kind of ability to be essentially Michael Carrick. And the comparisons are easy between the two because Anderson's from the northeast and he's more of a circulator who can progress forward at times, but likes to keep the ball moving and lots of small passes between centre-backs, between midfielders to build the attack. Whereas Wharton, I know he's a good passer of the ball, but he's essentially just give it to me and I'm going to put it forward as quickly as possible to wingers, to wing-backs, to forwards, find channels to put it into. He gets probably quite a few pre-assists from doing it. I don't really understand why they've not got more from that. It doesn't make sense when you want to think about their profiles in those areas. But anyway.
100%. Yeah, there wasn't anything else stats-wise that I wanted to go on there.
Lovely.
But yeah, that would be interesting stuff.
I think that's everything on Palace, and we'll now talk about how Leeds can possibly hurt them on the Leeds half-hour analysis, shall we? Right then. We've just talked about their lineup. What are we expecting ours to look like then, Martin? We've had a nice week, but we had a nice week where a few players did impress in the Cup against Norwich. Nyonta did quite well. Tanaka did okay. Mecha did very well. Beal did very well. Are you expecting any of these names I'm naming to maybe get back in?
I hope so, but I don't think so.
You don't think so? So what do you think Farke will do? Yeah,
I think he'll look very similar to the last game before the cup game. Maybe the only change I could potentially see is Be-all coming in for extra height and attacking from set pieces. We saw how much threat we caused them last time, but I don't think there'll be any other major changes to this one. Although I would like to see some. I would like to see Gnonto given some more game time. Aronson has sort of come out of his purple patch of where he's not really assisting or scoring goals now. He's doing good at getting the ball forward, but Gnonto can do that as well. So I would like to see a change. Aronson can be just as effective from the bench. We shouldn't need Aronson's work rate in this one, in my opinion, because Palace won't really have the ball too often for us to need to be pressing too much. It's going to be more about how we're looking to break down Palace's block and creating chances from set pieces and all this kind of thing. So we want as much height in there for the set pieces and also as much creativity as we can to try to break them down outside of set pieces, so we're not overly relying on set pieces, because we haven't been great on set pieces for a while now. It's kind of went down, it's nosedived down a bit as the rolling XG created from set pieces, and it has done for a while. So we shouldn't look this one to rely on set pieces as our main way of doing it. We should try to be looking to break them down in possession as well. And we do have players who can do that, but I can't see it. I think it will be very similar to what we have seen for most of the league games recently.
I think there is obviously that question mark hanging over two players, but I think it sounds like they're going to be fine. We're recording this. That press conference I mentioned earlier from Glasner was because they've got Larnaca on Thursday. We don't have a midweek game, so Farke's not doing his probably until Friday. We're recording this on Wednesday. We'll answer questions about Joe Rodon and Calvert-Lewin then, but those are the two that missed the Norwich game as a precaution. It does sound like they're going to be okay. But if ever there was a time to maybe take Rodon out, and I like Rodon, it's nothing against him, but Be-all, I think, has been our best set-piece threat other than Calvert-Lewin all season when he's actually played. Strouk's a bit of a magnet for getting to the ball, but has got no accuracy with his goal. And
he's taken over Joe Rodon's 50p head. There must be one Leeds player who has a 50p head. It's been passed on from Rodon to Strouk now.
I like that he gets on the end of them, though, and I like that he's a threat, so I don't mind him still staying in the team. If you're asking me this question in terms of what I would like to see, I think it would be Be-all in for Rodon or Justin. I don't really mind which. If Rodon's a little bit injured, maybe you just give him another week and you put in Be-all for him and Justin stays in at right centre-back. If the other thing I would do would be I'd like to take Stack, move him back into his best position in midfield, not having as a slightly weird kind of attacking midfielder type thing. I don't like it. I don't think it's the best use of him, even though he's been fine there, or more than fine, to be honest. But I think he's one of our best players, and we should just play him next to Ampadu and play Gnonto or Okafor, depending on who's fit, as an extra forward with Aronson and Calvert-Lewin. I think that would be fine. That's what I would like to see. We're away from home. I don't see Farke changing too much. I think the only thing that might happen is Be-all. I think everything else will stay the same. I think the goalkeeper, the wing-backs, the other two centre-backs, the midfielders and the forwards, it will stay the same as what we've seen recently. So we've given this a lot of talk, but I think the only one we might see is Be-all for one of Rodon or Justin, probably more likely Rodon. And that's it. I guess Metcha played well enough against Norwich. I wouldn't be too worried if he came in and Calvert-Lewin is out. But like I say, I don't think Calvert-Lewin's too much of an issue. So then, Martin, based on our lineup, which is unchanged from the last league game against Sunderland, which players are we looking at as causing Palace the most problems? Is there anyone we think that stands out here? I guess it's obvious, isn't it, from set pieces?
Yeah, there's a few different set piece threats that we've got, to be honest, and I think anyone will cause them problems. But if Calvert-Lewin is available, he's always going to cause problems for any side. And I think he probably can win the aerial battle against any of their three centre-backs that they've got. I think Gabby Goodmanson will have a fun time up against old man Klein on that side. That got to be a foot race for the ages. Is that? So yeah, that's the side that I'm looking at is Gabby Goodmanson, and whichever winger is up against him as well. If that's also another reason why I want to see another attacker brought into this one and do exactly what you said and take Ilya Gruev off. He's not done anything wrong, but he's just average at everything, so he doesn't offer enough. And forcing him into there, pushing Stack further forward, you've got to include Stack. It's not the best use of the team that we've got. And if we were to bring Gnonto on to that left side and have Gnonto and Goodmanson, I think that has potential to work really, really nicely. And then we'll have the left side of those two, and then we'll have the right side of whoever would be on that side, probably Justin and Bogle, cause problems on that side. But again, most of our threat, as it has done all this season, is going to come from our wing backs. That's if we do see the line that we're expecting, probably the two most creative players will be Bogle and Goodmanson, and Goodmanson isn't really that creative. He's more of a progressor.
This season.
Yes, I was just about to say, but I'm very happy for him that he got his first goal contributions, both coming in the same game, which is quite
good man.
Which is quite fun. So yeah, those are the main things I'd say. I think for players who could struggle, I could see Goodmanson having a battle on his hands against Sarr. If he gets in space behind him, he's very fast, but so is Goodmanson. So that is going to be an interesting battle there. I think Goodmanson can keep up with most players in this league, and I back him to do well in that. But he's probably the biggest worry that I've got. And Strand Larsen can win aerial battles against any centre back in this league.
With that. Lots of narrative.
Yeah, loads of narrative. So I'm just hoping that we have Be All in for that precise reason, just for Strand Larsen, because we're going to need aerial threat for attacking set pieces and for defending against that big unit of Strand Larsen. So yeah, that is the one for me.
Yeah, I think the Klein thing's really interesting, and like some Leeds fans listening might be like, I didn't know he still played for them. Obviously, he did go to Liverpool and he did go to Southampton, but he's come back. We played against Nathaniel Klein when he was a Championship right back for Crystal Palace, when he was a very young Championship right back for Crystal Palace before they got promoted. It's a long time ago now, and he's still doing it. Had a great career, but like you say, he's an old man. So that is definitely the main area. I'm really gutted that Okafor's out potentially for this one. Like, obviously, I think he'll be touch and go because they did say sort of 2 to 4 weeks. I think we've been 2 or 3.
I would love him to be back for this one. I would love it.
I think it would be a really good one for him against a young centre back on that side as well. I know he's done quite well, Cambo, but I just think that's a good side to battle down. I think that side of the pitch is the main area, really, because as you've mentioned, Sarr as a threat against Goodmanson. If Goodmanson goes on one of his crazy dribbles, which he will do at some point, then he's got to run back the other way. And we've got Strauch, who we all love, but he's not very quick. And he's up against Sarr in that channel, isolated. It's just not going to look the prettiest, I have to say. No. And the direct kind of passes Palace play aren't always in the air, so Strauch can't just head it away. Some of them are going to be on the floor or into channels that he can run onto, like over Strauch's head. So I don't think we should be playing too high a line, for example. I think we should be trying to frustrate more. I don't think we should be high pressing because I think we should look to break out of our press with the runners of Bogle and Goodmanson and potentially Okafor and Gnonto, they get on the pitch. Those kind of players are going to be really, really key here for me. And then the midfield battle is interesting because, as you say, physically, I think we've got the beating of them. And I think we did at Ellen Road as well, you have to say. The one midfielder they've got who can probably compete, especially with Ampadu physically, is Lerma. But even then, like, that's one player. And they play a two-man midfield. They don't stodge you up with 3. We sometimes have, like, the 4 that we have, like a 5-4 when we're set up like that, the bank of 5 and the bank of 4. And the 4 has Stack, Ampadu, Gruev in it. Like, I just think that's a really good area for us to win duels and get on top a little bit more as well. So I think we're actually a pretty good matchup for Palace, I think, to frustrate if we get the tactical elements right. And that's the next question. It's about what you think we're going to do tactically. Martin, a lot of the time recently, we have been doing some kind of a high press, then you quickly drop that back into a mid-block. But I just don't think with the way they play and the fact they're going to get the ball forward pretty quickly, it's like the centre-backs do that. They want to hope that you can mop it up in deeper areas in your defence and your midfield if you position yourselves well. And if that's still how I see it, that's how I would do it. I don't know if Farker will. What do you think? He'll still want elements of high press here, or do you think he'll change that up from the last few games?
I do think that he will still want the mid to high press that we've had going on. I don't think it will be man to man as we've seen in some recent games, but it will still be probably more aggressive than what I'd like to see. I would like to see us not low blocking it, but hitting them back with what they do and just purely sitting in our mid block. That is where we are most effective, in my opinion. We had some good moments in the high press, but it tends to leave space behind, which players with good passing range, like Adam Wharton, can nail a ball into all day long. So you want to try to congest areas in this one and play them at their own game. We did well in the reverse fixture. Loads that was from set pieces, and we can't guarantee that will be the same. So we need to frustrate them in this one and do what teams have been doing to us recently, in my opinion. But I don't think we'll do that.
Agree, unfortunately, although I will say we are doing man-to-man in any area, it's on Wharton. Just to note as well, he's left-footed. You know, if Ampadu's the guy that's having to deal with him the most, right-footed midfielder against left-footed midfielder works quite nicely, potentially. Problem is he's pretty nifty. He's pretty press-resistant. He's got a decent, kind of turning circle to get around a press, so that's a bit frustrating. But yeah, I agree with everything you said. Can't really add to it. There's not much else to talk about then, I guess. What are we expecting this game of football to look like, Martin? And I'll ask that on its own because I think this could be quite stodgy in middle areas of the pitch for both teams. If it's played how I expect it to be played, I think it could be quite a turnover game in that area, and then maybe Leeds hopefully making most of set pieces or moments where you can draw and bait Palace into you and then quickly break with a Goodmanson down the left and beat their press and destabilise their structure completely. If we can do that, those are the main ways we're going to be able to win this match, which I'm leaning into the next question now. So I'm just going to ask you both in one go, which is what will this game of football look like and where will the game be won or lost in your opinion?
I think we will probably end up having more of the possession, even though that will probably be what Palace want, because they're definitely better when they don't have as much of the ball. We will find it difficult to break them down. Obviously, a lot of set pieces flying around from us trying to get advantage of, and I think this game will be won or lost as to whether we are clinical from those set pieces. I don't think we'll create a whole lot of chances in this one in possession, but if we can go at them like we did in the last game and cause them problems from those set piece moments, then we can win this game. We've shown that we can beat this side. On paper, it shouldn't be that much different. Yeah, we're travelling further, but they've got a midweek game, so it should balance it out a bit, because there will be, if they do decide to play even half of the squad in the midweek game against Larnaca, that'll still be 5 players who have played more minutes than what our players have. So I think it'll come down to set pieces overall, but we have it in us, but it's still going to be a very close game this, and could go either way. And as you know, we don't make predictions.
No, we don't. I'm a little frustrated that they're actually at home to Larnaca. Would have been nice if they'd had to travel all the way to, I think it's Cyprus. That would have been nice. One thing I would say, and it's not a prediction, but I think a way that we can win this match is actually, because you say we're not going to create loads of chances. If we do, our best chances are going to come from set pieces. They're not going to come from open play as much. So when the half chances appear from open play, when there is a shot to take on the edge of the box, when there is a moment just to fling it into the box somehow, do those things, because the keeper's either got to make a save, push it wide, we get a corner, or the defender's got to clear it somehow, either out for a corner or a throw in or whatever. And those are the moments we're going to be able to essentially beat them. We need to get Goodmanson into good positions, either to get the ball into the box to then put the ball in for cutbacks that might get cut out for a corner, or they might go to Calvert-Lewin for him to score. Or, he gets towards the box and they foul him and we get free kicks, and it's the same thing, isn't it? You get in set pieces then. And that's the main way we're going to be able to win this, if we do those things, because I don't think we're going to get loads of chances from open play. I don't think they will particularly either, unless we get our press wrong. If we engage them too high and we leave ourselves with lots of space behind us and lots of runners for them into that space, that's where they'll kill us. And I don't want us to do that. I don't actually think we will, but I'm still worried Farke won't get this particular element of the match absolutely spot on, in my opinion. So yeah, I think we can get them. They've obviously drawn 6 of 14 home games. We've obviously beaten them this season. I obviously said earlier as well that I do think that stylistically we're a decent matchup if we play our cards right against Palace. So play our cards right, and I think we can really, really frustrate them, and it can still look something like the game at Ellen Road, although I don't think it'll be as dominant as arguably our most dominant display of the whole season still at this point. Yeah, that's everything. Yeah, for you as well.
All
Lovely.
good.
Just a quick reminder then, the website for our Patreon is patreon.com/ASAW Patreon. Like I said, there'll be stuff on there this week. Me and Hosty have both promised to do stuff. And because I'm recording this today, I'll probably do that bonus stuff tomorrow on Friday, I think. But that's all we have time for today. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. It would do us a massive help. Please just subscribe. Just go. You've got a Google account. You've got a YouTube account. If you've got any kind of email account, you've probably got a YouTube account. Just go click the subscribe button and also that sound. It'll take you 5 seconds. Thank you. But we'll be back with a review of this game and then a preview of, I think it's the Brentford game. Yay. And then it's an international break. So we've got a bit of time there as well. But for now, all that's left for me to say is thank you very much to Martin.
Thank you as well, mate.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll be with you very soon to talk about everything else Leeds United.